Welcome to the PowettPlay Podcast, where international cricketer Kieran, Powell and marketing genius Shannon join forces, bringing you captivating conversations with the biggest players in cricket and business. Join us as we dive into the lives of current stars in the cricketing world, the legends before them, and those extraordinary icons whose performances changed the game in both cricket and business. Exploring journeys both on and off the pitch, the boardroom, and everything in between. Get ready for an exhilarating blend of cricket, life, and business insights, with two insatiably passionate, infuriatingly no-holds-barred hosts, who, unfortunately for the rest of us, live and breathe this stuff for a living.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 49 of the PowettPlay Podcast. I'm your host Shannon, and as always I'm joined by my co-host Kieran Powell. How are you, Kieran?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's getting grim here in the UK, and whereabouts are you at the minute?
Out in Trinidad, it's hot, but it's raining probably every 45 minutes. So
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, lovely. And is it supposed to, will you get some good weather then now for the next few weeks, or is it inconsistent sort of thing?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't sort of checked the weather report or anything. I think that there was some sort of tropical depression or something passing by over the weekend. So I think that may have been why it's been so much rain.
Yeah, no, cool. I think, I want to try and have a chat really and get your opinion on the upcoming ODI series with the West Indies and England, and what do you think?
No, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the West Indies finished playing in Sri Lanka yesterday, so it's obviously a very short turnaround for them, because I think England land in the Caribbean today.
Yeah. And
that series starts on Thursday, so I think the West Indies get back probably tomorrow afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, to the Caribbean, and then it's just Tuesday, Wednesday, straight into cricket Thursday. So by that regard, I guess it's good for them in the sense that they're coming off of cricket. It's just a matter of adjusting back to the Caribbean time zone. 10 and a half hours at this point in time of the year from Sri Lanka. So it's good for them. For England, obviously, it's a new look sort of England team carrying on from that Australia ODI series, even more so with Liam Livingstone, I think, as captain now, which is an interesting move in itself. But it should make for interesting cricket.
Yeah, it should do. I think that the West Indies will be too strong for England, to be honest with you. I think I can't see England. Yeah, just the way that the side is and things, it doesn't look particularly that balanced, from my opinion. And I think that the way that the West Indies, I know results necessarily haven't gone their way in Sri Lanka, but I know it's been a bit tricky at times. I think they'll have too much on the home patch, and I think that I do think there will be quite a comfortable series win for the West Indies on this occasion.
I think that just knowing the history of obviously West Indies England series and even beyond cricket, I think something that I found interesting, even outside of cricket, Emma was telling me that I think it's CARICOM has filed some sort of multi-trillion-dollar repatriation claim from the English government. So, obviously, there's a lot of history, a lot of tension between West Indies and England when that series is played, and it's not been favorable for England out here in the Caribbean for decades now. Not even a matter of years, but decades. Actually, they haven't won too many matches or series, and so the West Indies sort of get amped up to a different level. It will also be interesting to see what team the West Indies have selected, because obviously you had quite a few guys that didn't go to Sri Lanka. The likes of the Akil Hussains, the Purans, the Hetmaya, etc. So are those guys coming back in? If they do so, in whose place would they be coming back in? So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. When do you think they'll name the squad then for the series, considering it starts Thursday?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'd have liked to have thought that it would have been named already, or if not, at the very least, it should have been named at the end of that last game. So probably maybe something goes out today. I'm not sure if Sunday's the day that they'll put out a press release, so maybe today or tomorrow. But it'd be interesting to see, because I think that obviously the way Evan Lewis played in that last ODI, he gives them someone that has obviously the ability not only to make centuries at the top of the order, but someone that can really go at the ball. And I wasn't really a fan of Alec Athena's opening the batting in ODI cricket. I think if he is going to play, they should find a spot for him in the middle, but I don't think that opening the batting was sort of his, I guess, role, in my eyes anyway. And then you look at the middle order now, it's become an interesting place, because you can only fit sort of 4 people into that sort of area. And you've got obviously Casey Carty at 3, Shea Hope at 4. Sheffield and Rutherford has to play.
Yeah.
And then, so it's a matter of, is Pooran interested in playing limited overs cricket for the West? Well, not limited overs cricket, let me rephrase it, 50 over cricket.
Yeah.
And is Hetmeyer available? And then you sort of have a toss-up between those two for that last batting spot. But I think that the way that Sheffield and Rutherford has started, and I've always believed in his ability. He's someone that I thought between him, Hetmeyer and Pooran can control a middle order for the West Indies for time to come.
Yeah.
I think that in Rutherford as well, I don't know if they've had any plans or talks about it, but I'd seriously be looking at him for Test match cricket as well.
All right,
because if you look at his game carefully enough, you saw in Australia that he is capable of playing the fast bowling. Yeah. Obviously in Sri Lanka, obviously him being Guyanese, he will be adept at playing spin bowling. And I mean, his scores in the series, 3 half centuries, shows you that he is good at playing not only spin bowling, but the ball. I've not seen a white ball spin that much in quite some time.
Yeah.
And he managed it pretty successfully as well. So I think that he has a game that West Indies can look to incorporate him somewhere around that 5 or number 6 position into the Test lineup, because I think that he has a good enough technique as well. He has temperament. He seems to have a good grasp of situations. You know, he can come in and go bang bang from the start, but he has shown, even in T20 cricket, the ability to build an innings. And even if you cast your mind back further to that match against New Zealand in the T20 World Cup here in Trinidad, it was a very tricky wicket, and he single-handedly got West Indies to a score that they were able to defend. I think that you're looking at people that can potentially go on to play a role for the West Indies. I think that he's someone that I'd seriously consider for Test match cricket.
Yeah, and I think the point there you made about the transition into Test cricket, one thing I noticed, I thought he rotated the strike really well in that first and second ODI. Obviously, it's a bit more destructive in the last one, but when Hinham Roston was batting before the rain came in the second ODI, I think it was, like you said, I thought the way that they both batted really, really well and sort of took the game, and used that sort of experience of, like I said, playing the spin and the rotation of the strike. I think it'd be a really good move to get him into the Test team. I think it'd be a good move for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I think what would be interesting for the England side of things as well is that they bring in, so Rain Ahmed's gone playing that last Test against Pakistan, and then he's in the ODI squad as well. So that's going to be interesting how what his role will be in this series. From my perspective, I'm looking forward to seeing Jofra Archer again, because seeing him playing is good for England. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes, and hopefully everything goes okay with him. And I mentioned obviously slightly negative about obviously my thoughts on how England will go. But I do, with this situation, I do think it gives people opportunity to sort of, make a name for themselves and stand up, and because everybody, as you mentioned there about the history and stuff, but everyone always tunes in as well with these series, because there's a lot of interest. So I do think it gives people opportunities to go and make a name for themselves and sort of hold the hand, put the hand up really as well, especially with Brendan McCullum taking over in January. He's going to be looking at, he's going to be keeping he's going to have a keen eye on this series as well to see how people go. And So yeah, that'll be interesting. But going back to the West Indies in terms of obviously how they move forward and things, I think it'll be quite interesting to see, the squad, who plays and who doesn't play and stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately, I do think they'll be too strong. Do you expect Jules Andrew to be named in the squad? Do you think they'll let him go and play Super 50? Because I remember when we spoke a few weeks ago, about obviously the talent he's got and stuff, but managing his sort of development in terms of playing time as well, really.
I think he has been named in the squad. Actually just messaged him about something differently, probably half an hour ago.
Oh, right, okay.
But I think he has been named in the squad. I think, in my opinion, I think what Sammy might probably be trying to do is to quicken up his development by having him in and around that international environment, as opposed to, I guess, playing in the regional setup, because there's quite a lot of limited overs cricket. I think they go straight from this series into another one-day series against Bangladesh as well.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think this series is probably going to be a week, 10 days, and then he'll probably join the Leeward Islands team towards the back end of the Super 50 tournament. So he'll get a chance to have some match play and then get back into that international environment as well, which I think is really good for him. It's interesting how they manage him going forward, because I know even last year I was saying, after he's finished playing first class cricket, there was absolutely, in my mind, absolutely no point of him going on to play sort of like under 17 competitions, etc. But they still sent him to the Leeward Islands board, which, someone that's development has already surpassed that level of cricket. It's sort of regressive, putting him back down to those levels. Even something like an under-19 tournament, personally, I wouldn't send him to unless it's the under-19 World Cup. But there's no point in him playing that when he's playing, obviously, at the international level now, A-team level, domestic cricket. So his calendar is already full. There's no need for him to go and play amongst his peers anymore. His peers are now big men.
Yeah,
exactly. So
definitely.
I just think it's important how they manage him as well, because he's so young. You don't think of burnout and whatever the case is, but you still have to handle him as well, because his body's still growing into its own. It's not fully developed yet. You want to make sure that you don't sort of overwork his body, and I think that he's going to be a special player for the West Indies for a long time, and I'm very happy. From the age of 15 when I saw him, I knew this. So I'm very happy for him, and hopefully they manage him well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the point you made there in terms of obviously spending some time with the West Indies team, then finishing the Super 50 campaign. I think it's a nice it's a nice sort of happy medium between mixing it with the international people, and then obviously then making sure you're having your actual game time as well. I think that'll help the player development, which is ultimately obviously the most important thing. Staying with England, have you seen much of the series with Pakistan?
I've seen highlights again. I haven't seen much of the games, obviously, because I've been flying around the world. But I think obviously what Pakistan did in those last two tests, I don't understand why they don't do that more often. That's the purpose of home advantage. It's not to create these absolute roads where you've lost pretty much every season since 2021. You want to win games, you want to get points and move up the World Test Championship rankings. And so, they've been able to produce two pitches which they found the perfect combination of an off spinner and a left arm orthodox spinner that can exploit those conditions, be consistent, and get as much out of the pitches as possible. And so I've always said to you, baseball is predicated on flat wickets. Once the pitches offer anything, whether it be seam movement or spin, then it's a completely different ball game, and that has proven to be true again. So it's going to be interesting to see how England continue to taper and tailor their approach, because we sort of saw India do the same thing when they went out to India as well, and they ended up losing that series 4-1, and now they've lost this one 2-1. So obviously there's a clear plan of approach in the subcontinent. It's going to be interesting to see what other countries do as well.
No, definitely. I think that off the back of the defeat, the series defeat, I think England have now lost 6 out of the last 9 Test matches in Asia. But when we don't go back to Asia till 2027, I don't think now. I'm sure that's what I read in the article anyway. But I totally agree that the way that the second and third test, that's what the way Pakistan should be. That's what's home advantage, and it's shown. It has highlighted England's, some weaknesses. And the point you made there about Bazball is becoming more and more prevalent, in my opinion. That it's all fine on a nice flat one, but anything where there's, I think we'll see that in New Zealand. I think if the ball starts to do a bit in New Zealand, it could expose England, and ultimately I think that New Zealand will be preparing tracks that suit them, which is that's what happens with home advantage. So I think I just sort of want to see some of the batters just knuckle down a bit more, like the way that some of the dismissals were. I appreciate using your feet and playing the way that they play the big sweeps and stuff, but rotating the strike and just sort of like taking the game a bit deeper, it makes a massive difference in the whole concept of a test match. And I just think it was been a little bit, I don't know, I feel at times we can be a bit too fair weather cricket with this Bazball thing. And I just want to see that a little bit of mental resilience and a bit of toughness to sort of just grind it out, and someone get 10 off 80 balls where and just let them make a change or do something different. But I think that they've got a bit of a gap now till New Zealand, so whether they make any changes and stuff. And there's obviously a few question marks regarding Ollie Pope's form. There's a few question marks over Ben Stokes' form, but I've got no I'm not concerned over too much about that because I think Stokes will get it right. But
so, 2-part question from me then is Ollie Pope going to New Zealand?
Yeah.
And is Ben Stokes too good of a player to continue to play this way?
Yeah. So the Ollie Pope thing, I'm going to come back to you with the question in a second because we have spoke about it. But I think he will go. But I think what's happening here is this is putting a bit of pressure on Joe Root. Because I think there's a lot of talk now of him potentially going back up to 3 where he doesn't want to go to then bring somebody to come into, to 4 or 5, and the positions that they go about there. But he's somehow got to try and work this out form-wise because he's not in, he's struggling. Ollie Pope, there's no question about. Well, I'm saying that. I'm saying he's struggling. He had a 154 at the back end of the series against Sri Lanka, but, that at the minute he's looking like an anomaly rather than it being a bit of form. The Stokes thing, I think it'll only be a matter of time because he's I think he's got that skills and mentality as well to get through that. And with his roots to New Zealand, he'll want to go there as England captain and he'll want to come away with that series and off the back of that, I think he'll want to perform. And I think because of like I mentioned there, the roots to New Zealand, I think it'll mean a lot to him, and I think he'll be focused and switched on for it. I just hope that with his return to OD, with the 50 over stuff, which he spoke about, isn't too distracted by potentially that. Then with the Champions Trophy, February, March, whenever that may be. So in terms of your questions, I do think that Stokes, no issues for me. Will Ollie Pope go to New Zealand? Yes. But my question back to you is this thing about form and the volume of cricket. What would you do in his situation if he does feel as though he's struggling potentially?
Ollie Pope's an interesting one for me because he's got 50 Test matches now, I think.
Yeah.
He's got the first person in the history of Test cricket to score. I think he's got 7 or 8 Test centuries, all against different opposition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, by the normal metrics of Test match batting standards, 7 centuries in 50 matches, happy days. You'd be very happy that you're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's either he gets under real pressure and scores a century, or there's not much in between. So it's very much, one end of the spectrum or the other. And I don't think that they've been able to manage to somehow get him to crack that consistency that they'd probably be looking for. Could it simply be a matter of a switch as simple as Harry Brook up to 3, Ollie Pope down to 5? Possibly,
yeah.
You never know, because Harry Brook obviously his game has gone in the direction that England definitely want it to be going. And with his level of confidence, he's going to be probably the next test skipper at some point. He's definitely going to be the senior batter of the team for a long point in time. You want to start getting him up to number 3 now with the cushion of Joe Root to come behind him and allow Ollie Pope to come in at probably 150, 180 for 3 as opposed to 50 for 1 and allow him to get into his game that way and eventually move him up to number 4 and Joe Root retires. Or do you get someone else in to that number 3 slot? Because I don't think at this point Joe Root's going to be going back and forth to number 3 anymore. I think that debate for me is done. And on the Ben Stokes front of it, I just think that it shouldn't be, and I'm pretty sure that it's not a matter of he wants to perform in one series or not, and not the other. He's the captain and he's a consummate professional. He's someone that wants to perform every single time. But I just think that his talent and his ability, to me, feels as though it's been wasted in this current environment. And I know that they'd say, they're trying to progress the game and what's not. But when you're able to produce some of the innings that he's produced, some of what has been not just good innings for someone, like he's produced some of the all-time great innings in the history of Test match cricket. Yeah. So if you're able to do those things in the situations that he's done them, under the pressure that he's done them, I just don't think that it's fair from a public consumption standpoint when you know what you can potentially get. For it to feel as though you're being shortchanged, because like he is single-handedly a match winner, and I think that people want to see that sort of him more than him going out and scoring a quick 30 or 40. That may be nice to see from Zach Crawley, which people don't have the same expectations of, but a Ben Stokes, which it's not only England that has expectations of him, it's the consumer, like the global cricketing consumer has expectations of him putting on a certain show, as we do of Joe Root, who is pretty much every single time you know what you're going to get. I think that's what is required from a Ben Stokes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the point then you make is about Stokes in terms of whether it be New Zealand, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, whoever. I agree completely. He'll want to put on a performance regardless of the opposition. I wanted to quickly ask you something, because I remember, whether it was on a podcast or whether it was just a conversation me and you were having, but I meant prior to a game or prior to a tournament that you were playing in, I remember you saying about going into it and saying, I just want to face as many balls as I possibly can, in terms of, to get going and stuff. Not get going, but I remember however the conversation was going. And with the Ollie Pope situation, do you think that this way, the Bazball way, and this, taking the game to them, do you think that puts a little bit of pressure on somebody who is sort of maybe would sort of take, would help them out if they did just sort of, go out there and just get behind the ball for a bit, maybe without being so attacking, and just sort of tried to build a little bit of momentum by facing as many balls as they possibly can?
I mean, the obvious answer is batting at number 4. You look at when the Bazball era started, and how it's going now for Joe Root. Obviously, initially, he had a tricky period of figuring out what his role was going to be within this setup, and people talked about the way he got dismissed and stuff for a period of time, and now he's sort of reined it back in. And he's probably batting the best he ever has, which is a tough call to make for someone that's played almost 150 test matches and 34 test centuries, so that's a testament to him, to show how much he has evolved and continues to evolve and continues to adapt and understand, even within a team environment such as this, that he has to play a certain way for not only the team to be successful, but for him to be successful, because the team's success heavily is weighted towards Joe Root's performances. And so I think Ollie Pope can take a bit of a lesson from that, because at the end of the day, batting at number 3, you're coming in against fresh bowlers bowling the new ball, which is, regardless of what the pitches are, it's going to be a challenge, especially initially. So if he gives himself that bit more of time to get acclimated to the pitches and stuff, the conditions where they're playing around the world, I think he'll have greater success. But I just think that, for me, looking at it from an outsider standpoint, I think that it would be good if they sort of made a switch and sort of took that burden off of him and let Harry Brook come up to number 3.
Yeah. Leading in, I just wanted to get your opinion on this as well, quickly, if you don't mind. Going into the second test, Pakistan dropped Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, I think were the 3 that they dropped. And I was reading an article about the Babar Azam situation. Obviously, he's been struggling for form, but the article is based around the impact it has from a commercial standpoint, with him being the big name, the Gray Nichols deal that he had. It was quite an interesting article. And what I wanted to get your take on is, with Pakistan and with someone of Babar Azam's sort of profile in Pakistan, how hard must that be for them to make the call to drop him or rest him, as they put it, versus the commercial side and the impact he has for the cricket board and cricket as a whole in Pakistan?
I mean, the commercial side of it shouldn't have any sway as to whether a player gets selected or dropped. It's international sport. It's performance based. Someone as a Babar or Shaheen, I think what they have for them is obviously that they've performed for a number of years. So with that, you get a longer lease of life than just the average player. Because you are not just the standard of your team, but you're world class. So you're top of the ranks in terms of everyone else within the world. So I mean, it was a surprise. Well, I wouldn't say it was a surprise, because they have been struggling. I think probably the way Pakistan went about it mid-series was interesting in itself. But again, we're talking about Pakistan cricket, so I can't really necessarily be surprised by too many things. But no, it's been interesting, because now Pakistan has gone on to win the series. Obviously, I mean, someone's going to have to make room for Babar to come back into the team. All the batters have done well in his absence, and I think the most vulnerable player seems to be the captain, Shan Masood, and even he got a score in the first Test match of 150. So it's going to be an interesting situation how that plays out in the long run. Hopefully, Babar can get back to some level of form. We don't know how long he's going to be out of the team for. Same with Shan Masood and Naseem Shah. But Pakistan generally need to do something about their pitches, because every time they try to play fast bowlers, the pitches end up being extremely flat.
That's really
probably the best roads in the country. So I think the groundsmen should be switching jobs to the public works service and fixing the roads in the country. But I think once they've gone the route of spin domestically, it suited them more. Having said that, you think of Pakistani quicks over the past years, you think of the Shoaib Akhtar's, the Wasim Akrams, the Imran Khans, Waqar Yunis. If it's not with the new ball, then they'll be able to extract reverse from the old ball, or whatever the case is. It just seems as though everything that we traditionally associate with Pakistan cricket is gone at the moment. And so it just seems as though there needs to be some sort of revamp internally.
Totally agree. I think it's a tough job that Jason Gillespie's got as well, but I think hopefully over time, we'll, like you said, some of the things that the traditions of Pakistan cricket will, start to come through and stuff. So, but I think, I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. Well, thank you for taking the time out your busy schedule to have a catch up. It's been good to see you. And yeah, we'll catch up soon.
There's Jordan. We'll catch up soon, and hopefully this is an exciting audio series from England and the West Indies. Generally is intense cricket between these two, so hopefully it remains the same.
Yeah, definitely give us some talking points, that's for certain. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and we should, even though I did say that I do think it'll be a comprehensive West Indies win, I hope it's competitive, and I'd hopefully see England perform. So yeah, thanks very much. I'll catch you soon, mate.
Cheers, Jordan. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the PowettPlay Podcast, hosted by Kieran, Powell and Jordan Shannon. We hope you enjoyed this immersive dive into the world of cricket and business, exploring the unique experiences and perspectives of players past and present, alongside those invaluable insights into intriguing business themes that transcend beyond the boundaries of sporting heroics. Be sure to set your reminders on your Alexa or Google Home device. Or we won't tell anyone if you still use those paper calendar things from a bygone era. Join us next time for more inspiring dialogue with scintillating minds on the PowettPlay Podcast.